This is the Fifth Estate Winning Headlines, your media police post. In this segment, we summarize some of the headlines that you might have missed this morning. But we also take a look at the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country. Today is the 15th of March, also the birthday of our Supreme Leader, Professor Mutahi and rejected the birthday messages. And I am 2J.
I am 2M.
And I am Miss K, your host. Again, in case you missed it, this is Winning Headlines. On a playful day, let's take a look at today's headlines. The Standard, court clears way for expensive loans. Daily Nation, Kenyans fury, shock in Addis. And The Star, families shock as no bodies to bury, just ashes. I think we'll begin with Daily Nation and The Star. Sad stories. Kenyans fury, shock in Addis. Families shock as no bodies to bury, just ashes. And I think this picture on the Daily Nation,
Speaks
this
volumes.
image of this family member really mourning, captures it all.
Yeah, so I think from what we understand, the families of the deceased traveled to Addis for a memorial service, hoping that maybe they'd be able to have some remains that they could take home to bury. But unfortunately, due to what happened, the accident, there were no remains found.
And you can understand, you know, they're looking for some sort of closure. You want to understand what happened to your family member. You want to have some part of them back that you can take back and have some sort of closure. So you can understand, and even the papers mention this cycle that they went through of anxiety, anger, grief, anxiety, anger, grief, just trying to understand and process the information that they were receiving. And even the airline itself is only giving them the information as they get it.
That's true.
But they did, and yesterday's paper, I forget which daily, had run a story that they didn't have a memorial service at Ground Zero. They didn't make it to Ground Zero, and they were able to get to Ground Zero and take some samples of soil with them that they would then use for the memorial services. So I'd say it's a sad story.
Very,
And
it's very sad.
My heart really goes to these families as they go through this.
I don't know if there's much more to say on that.
Before we table these, because we cannot trash them, we'll table them. I'd like us to address a continuing story I see on the sidelines of the Daily Nation. Ministers face detectives in dams probe. It's been a minute since we saw Kimorer and Aurora on our papers.
Damn story,
This dumb story.
Back.
I saw CS Kionjori and Wamalwa were questioned yesterday by DCI.
Yes.
But if you listened to what CS Kionjori was saying, he was just coming short of saying that he was resigning.
Okay, well, there's some telling things that happened. One, he says he received a text message summoning him for this particular interview.
A CS.
Yes.
Receiving a text message
from a lower ranking.
His junior.
From a head of a department.
Yes, and I say that there are protocol issues that were breached there. If you're going to be summoned to answer questions on a big issue such as this, there should be some formal way in which you're summoned.
Yeah, I think even something that's more respectful is to have the conversation in that person's office, not have them dragged down to the DCI offices.
With the implication that there's some form of suspect.
Do you know, I listened to Kionjori very well. And he said he has appeared in the newspapers for 7 months. And he was just questioned for 32 minutes.
They really
7 months,
stretched that story.
You know, you have maligned, you have spoiled, you have dented, you have damaged someone's name.
A person who still has to continue performing the duties that they were given, that they hold under a branch of government, the executive.
And then you text him to summon him.
I don't know, but I think that this is a direct attack at the executive. It's exposing the executive. And if you continue like this, you never know who could be summoned indiscriminately for an interview such as this.
You're not just messing with that. You are also exposing and you are, what do you call it? Eroding. You are eroding the mystic of the cabinet. You are eroding the mystic of the state.
Oh yeah, that's very true.
Right? You cannot summon a CS with a text message, and especially his junior.
At the very least.
However, it does seem like these orders are coming directly from the president himself.
Next time he'll be summoned by a head of department of KWS.
Nonetheless, even board members get letters 2 weeks in advance before they're summoned for a board meeting. So I think the principle remains. Final headline, the Standard, court clears way for expensive loans.
Yeah.
But before we speak about this headline, because we couldn't break down those headlines because of their emotive nature, I would like to bring back our audience to the criteria that we use to break down the headlines for you. We ask ourselves 3 questions. Is the headline topical or is it speculative? Is the headline repetitive or is it groundbreaking? And finally, is the headline thoughtful or just plain lazy? Court clears way for expensive loans. The interest rate cap is gone. But 12 months from now.
Fantastic.
I don't agree.
If Parliament did not want to listen, the courts have listened.
Parliament listened to the voice of the people.
But let me tell you, you remove those rates or the caps have been a disaster.
For who?
For markets.
But what about the people?
The people need markets to survive.
All right.
You see, guys, an interest rate is, in essence, a profit margin.
For the bank.
For the bank.
For the bank.
For the bank. If you mess with that, if you mess with how a market will work, somebody is going to receive their end of the stick.
I think someone always receives the other end of the stick anyway.
Yeah, regardless of what happens.
Banks are profiting institutions. They work for their best interest. They work for their bottom line.
Oh, they're not charity organizations.
No, hear this. The justification for the interest cap was that they were charging really high, excessively high interest rates and were getting exorbitantly high profits for that reason. Therefore, the government intervened and set a cap. But they didn't set a cap on what CBK did. They said whatever CBK sets as the published rate, you can only exceed it by this margin.
By 4.5%.
Okay.
By 4.5%.
So wait, let me ask you, Ms. Kim. What exactly did the court decide?
So the court decided that the sections of the Banking Act, and I think it's section 33B, that gave central bank the power to enforce interest ceilings, were 1, unconstitutional, and 2, were null and void. So no more of this. So the interest cap is gone, but they gave it a 12-month period within which to take effect because they took into consideration the effect it would have on the economy.
Yes.
And I agree with the judges. And you see, guys,
I don't agree with the judges.
Please
give me your reason, then I'll give you mine.
I come from a school of thought called the free market system.
Okay.
The state should not overly interfere with how a free market works. Right? The moment you do that, the guys that will suffer is the market itself. Right now, banks are loaning more to government than they've ever lent to markets. In fact, I was seeing some figures. Over 280 billion shillings that used to be lent to markets has gone to government.
This is the reason you cannot fault banks for watching their own backs. They are profit-making institutions.
So you agree with me?
No, I'm saying that the banks themselves made rational decisions based on the regulatory framework within which they were operating at the time. You see, they were capped. Their interest rate is capped. So they cannot make the exorbitant profits they were making previously.
Exorbitant profits.
For the cap.
Exorbitant profits.
So now they're making profits anyway because they determined that some people did not have an identifiable credit worthiness. Therefore, they decided that institutions, formal institutions, and the government were more credit worthy. Therefore, they lent to them to maintain their profits.
Can I ask you something? If government is earning more profits in terms of taxes from banks,
guys, can we ground ourselves in this
one last thing before we ground ourselves in the headline. I think that the president has stopped listening to the first voice he heard, the one that got him to put the interest cap in the first place, which was the voice of the people. They felt the weight of paying the interest rate, which were arbitrary. They were between 18 and 30%.
I actually want to defend the president here. The president has not refused.
I have not finished.
Parliament has refused.
Wait. Your free market economy people, otherwise known as Bretton Woods institutions, another voice that he's listening to. And they're against me as the people.
Have you read Business of Late? Let me tell you,
against
the IMF and the president, by the way, are actually pro-removal of caps. The guys who, Kichwangumu is Parliament. And let me tell you, the more that they stick with this interest cap, the more the markets suffer.
Stop pointing your pen aggressively at people.
Let the markets decide.
Can you feel that aggression? I feel that aggression.
Let the markets decide.
All right, guys. So what do we think about this headline then? Let me ground you.
I said, can I tick on it? Fantastic.
No. I say groundbreaking story.
Oh.
But I don't like the story itself. I'm allowed to not like the story, but the fact that the story is there is fine.
I'm tossing this headline.
Thank you,
All
June.
right.
And I sort of hear you.
And now onto the political pieces.
I have been vetoed. This is not a mutiny.
Onto the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country.
Okay, fine. We have a 3-part criteria that we use to break down the cartoons for
She's
you.
taken.
Thank you, June.
I am now the
I take it back.
I
take it back. We ask ourselves, is the cartoon humorous or is it dry? Is it satirical or is it pessimistic? And is it effective or just plain lazy?
Yeah.
Let me bring back the papers.
Yes.
No more talk on that story. No more. No more.
Yeah.
No more. No more.
June, you've heard?
I'm done.
No more.
No, she already tossed it. It's fine. It's gone.
All right, let's look at the standard first, I think.
Okay.
Here we go.
Where is it?
Yeah.
You take us through this one.
So this is the Uganda-Rwanda War Games, and it is a maze.
Yes. A bloody maze.
A bloody maze, yes, with skeletons and bones.
Strewn all over the place.
Who's holding a gun?
2 people.
2 people?
Different
Two people.
guns though.
We have
Different
somebody
guns.
who looks like President Kagame.
Who's
and-
hunched over in fear, I think.
Yes.
No, yes, that's
He's
Kagame.
hunched over.
But what is he holding?
He's hunched over.
He's
A
holding
rifle.
a revolver.
You know, I'm not, I don't know.
He's
And
holding a
then in the
revolver.
back, I think over
And
there
the
we have
silencer.
Ugandan
The
President
silencer.
Museveni. Yeah.
Yes, on
Yes.
the back, yes, you have Museveni holding
The
a...
horns, eh?
I think this cartoon is trying to be too clever.
Oh,
I think-
okay. Yeah.
I think it's clever.
It's
Okay,
trying
well,
to be
some
too
parts,
smart.
okay, well, it is trying to be a bit smart, and being smart is not a bad thing. It tries to depict the history of
Yes.
with
The
because you
tensions
see,
between
of the
the-
tensions between they're in a maze, and this maze has bones.
Yes.
The bodies have decomposed.
Yes.
It has blood. There's a history that's there,
Yes.
but it also has them in different positions. So I don't know.
But what is the narrative of the maze?
Let me tell you the context of this. Paul Kagame used to be the head of intelligence, chief of military intelligence for Yoweri Kaguta Museveni. Right? They do have a history. What you're seeing as skeletons and blood and all manner of things
Is that history?
is sort of they're coming from a place, and yet the maze, and you can see the maze is full of blood and gunshots and all manner of things, but yet the Gado recognizes that Museveni is the older brother, and that's why he has a bigger gun. He can mess about with this guy and that kind of thing. But then again, it's close quarter battle.
Is it old
right?
school and new
so
school?
who will win in close quarter battle? Who will need the rifle? Who will need the revolver? All right. But then again, why are you fighting? You already have all this. You have bloody history and that kind of thing. You know, there's something he's trying to push here, and I think, in my view, it's a very clever cartoon.
It is a clever cartoon.
Yeah.
What Juni is saying is that it's too clever. You'd have to think it through. You need to think it through a lot.
I don't think it's too clever. I think it's trying to be smarter
okay.
than it is.
But you
Can
see,
we put it in the parking bay? We see what else is the other contenders before
Yes.
we make a determination on
Sure,
it.
sure.
Okay. Let's see the star. This one I found funny. This one I found funny.
yeah.
This is a fantastic one. So we have somebody who appears to look like our president.
Being a tailor.
Yes, as a tailor.
And he says, we use nothing but the best recycled material.
Recycled is underlined.
And what he has made is a suit that says Ministry of Wildlife and Tourism. And the person he's handed this suit to
He's smaller than the material. Is
it appears to be the former IG of police, Joseph Boynet.
And I have to say, first of all, the suit is still being made. It's in the process. He wants him to try it on before they can make the final adjustment. So that's why he's still holding the scissors.
where are those socks like
He's
that?
ready because they're big. Everything is big. Everything is too big for him. I don't know why. Everything is big.
And his heart.
It's
like
also
a child.
I don't know. Yeah, but I do think it's funny. I do think it's really funny.
I do think it's very funny as well.
I like Ndula. But you know, he could be saying two things.
Okay. Yes.
One is Uhuru is a very gracious person.
Yeah.
You leave office, he will not let you down, he'll appoint you to an office, right? That is the Cabinet Administrative Secretary for, what do you call that? The Tourism and Wildlife, or whatever they call
Ministry
it.
of Wildlife and Tourism,
Right? But Ndula could also be saying that the president likes to recycle people.
So now recycling means he's gracious.
And now he's used someone's suit who was bigger,
Instead of
and he gave it to who?
a smaller guy.
a smaller guy who may not fit into those shoes.
may not fit.
Is that the implication that's being
Are you
made
seeing
there?
how shocked the caricature of Boynet is?
It's shocked at the size of the suit. You could have made it my size.
And he has to stand on a stool.
fit into it. Okay, can we say
So
it's
wait, no.
humorous?
So honestly, though, if Uhuru was a good tailor, he would have made the suit
To fit.
the right person, right?
I love it.
That assumption.
I don't know what conclusions you want to draw from that, but maybe he's not a good tailor.
But for the first time, he's been drawn holding scissors.
And then?
What does that mean? What's the importance of that? See, that's part of a tailor's outfit.
But what does he normally hold?
And a cherehani.
But what does he
Oh
normally
my
hold?
goodness. All right. So what do we think about this cartoon?
Humorous, put it in the parking bay. Let's see what's in the Daily Nation before we determine what's our winning cartoon. Humorous and satirical, I think.
Lazy. Agreed.
And
We'll put
you'll see the image. But I think that was a unanimous decision. We're not even discussing it.
Lazy.
Bring back those other two. Let's look at Gado versus Victor Nduna and we decide which of these two is our winning headline. Although, maybe we are biased. I'm more likely to head this way.
I agree as well. I do.
I'm headed.
You know what
I'm leaning towards the star. So you tell us what you're saying.
Can I explain the other thing? What could be beyond the maze in the Gado
You're
story?
still on that?
We'll give you a chance.
Do you know what could be beyond the maze?
What could be beyond the maze?
It could be the Congo, it could be Kenya, it could be Burundi. People don't actually realize that Kagame, Museveni, and Laurent Desire Kabila were linked, right? In fact, they used to call Laurent Desire Kabila Mzee Tatu. Mzee Tatu used to be their errand boy, right? And
The
this
errand boy of these two.
He used child soldiers and marched all the way to Kinshasa to depose Mobutu Sese Seko.
Are we reading too much into the cartoon?
I feel that, yeah.
I mean, thank you for the history lesson.
If this is what Gado is trying to show, that a battle between Kagame and Museveni could have ramifications in the region, I think this is clever.
I think that you've read too much into that maze.
Into it, yeah.
Yeah, into that maze. Yes, the maze could. For me, it just showed where the battle is. That's the theater of war.
All around the maze, there are skeletons. There's blood. There's gunshots.
Okay.
Even in the maze.
Even in the maze, meaning even in Kampala and Kigali, there are gunshots and skeletons.
All right, let's vote.
No.
I vote for the star.
I vote for the star.
You can overrule me if you want. I'm sticking to Gado.
Okay, well, sorry, we have the majority. Our
2 out
winning
of 3.
cartoon is from the star.
Let's make Gado a good thing. You can take it now.
I don't know what brownie points you'll get for that, but I do hope it takes you somewhere.
But I still like Ndula.
This is Winning Headlines. See you tomorrow.